of light coming in other than natural light, it's just so hard to read it. I don't test it. I'm going to be honest. I don't test iodine. I'm going to throw it out there. I said it. I dose it and I don't test it. However, as Patrick was saying, this is potassium-based iodine. So it's safe. It's bioavailable. Do it like it says and you're good. That is not true for any of the other ones. Okay? So just so you know, this is the only one. You can still test for it because if you're not doing this kind and you're doing one of these other ones, the lesser concentrated, and you're not testing, then you're in trouble. Follow this one and you're safe. But I don't test this one.
Well, Jeff,
I don't.
For those people that want to dose iodine but have smaller tanks, how would you recommend they go about doing it since it's a 1 drop per 25 sort of deal?
Mix it in a top-off water or a water change, but I don't know how long it can last in a non-aquarium environment.
Before it breaks down. Exactly.
So in that aspect, I don't know if there's any way to do a half a drop or a quarter of a drop. I mean, if it's saying a drop per 25 gallons and you've got a 10-gallon tank, I mean, I guess you would have to save it. Anybody know how long it can last? Or go ahead.
Well, you can dilute it with GI water and do it per milliliter. Like if you do 5 milliliters of GI water and then do 1 drop iodine, then you can do it per 5 gallons. 1 milliliter would be 5 gallons.
Yeah, there's got to be an equation.
With the syringe.
Yeah,
Maybe
so
just like a
do a 5 to 1, a 4 to 1, so it's a 20% solution.
There's got to be an equation.
I got it.
So do a 5 to 1 solution. Is that what we're
do a 4 to 1, so it's a 20% solution of iodine.
So a 4 to 1 gives us a 20% solution. That'd pretty much be our conclusion on that.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Good point though, because I didn't think about it. Good point. Excellent point.
Always small tanks.
No, yeah, I know. There's a lot of nano guys out there, and I mean, if it's saying 1 per 50 or 1 per 25, then some of you are having problems not growing coralline algae, calcareous algae, the purples, the pinks, the reds, the oranges. Your mag's probably low. Calcium not alone isn't going to do it. I mean, that's only one of the elements, one of the components of the carbonates that in turn make the full circle. So if your mag's low, you're not getting calcareous growth. That's probably why. I know we were talking about that, and if you do some research on it, you'll dive in and you'll see that it pretty much backs up everything we're going over today about the way they all work together and get our calcareous algae growing. Some of us have tanks for years and no calcareous algae growth. A lot of it has to do with oxygen exchange too, running hang-on stuff as opposed to sumps. The oxygen exchange ultimately only occurs at the surface. However, if you're on a sump, there's a surface water down there, so it is a surface where oxygen exchange is occurring. That's another one. That really is not going to go in with chemistry though, and it's a whole nother subject, so we're not going to go too much on it, but just so you know, if you're not getting those growths, it's probably due to your mag being depleted. Or if you're dripping the calc, it's going to lower your magnesium levels. Keep that in mind too. Iodine, we got how it helps with the inverts to molt. It helps with corals in the calcification process. It's even, I mean, this particular article is recommending a Lugol solution, a concentrated solution. That's really what we want to go for. So if you're using the larger bottles like we talked about, maybe X them, give it a while to process out, skim out, burp out whatever it's saturated in the system, and then start going with the concentrated. But I'd wait some time before you switch. Like, don't just switch right over. I would give it some time, week, 10 days, see how things are doing.
How big of a factor is iodine play in actually SPS?
Well, it's going to help with the iodine levels in the tank are going to help to feed any of the algae that are growing, the zoanthides and stuff. Don't know really much about how it's going to affect the SPS, but I know it's going to affect that in some way. I would have to look more into that. Does anybody know that one? How the iodine affects SPS coral growth? Or how it doesn't affect it? That's a tough one. Not sure on that one. I don't know if it does, honestly. I think it has more to do with the, well, no. Yeah, It does. It directly affects it because it's part of the calcification process. So without it, the process, you know, the whole biological process wouldn't be complete without it, because it is a necessary element and it's one of our minors, but still being important. So being part of the calcification process, I guess SPS being, you know, a carbonate-based structure, yeah, I think it would be pretty important. Levels of probably have to be up around, you know, the what is it, 6.06 ppm is natural water. So I would say, you know, testing it, like we talked about, it's a really tough one to test. I think if we were conditioned to doing it, the only really good iodine test kit I know out is Salifert, and it's just so difficult to read. It breaks it down in so many different levels. I mean, you have to be a scientist to do it just about. But yeah, being as it's helps with the calcification process, I think so. And here it's not really, I didn't get too much into it. Dilated forms of supplements, isotones, some minus fair part. Yeah, it's going to be, I think it's going to be big for SPS. I mean, I'm dosing regular. I know Steven was dosing regular in here. And like we say, that's about 4 years growth right there. It's about 4 years in captivity from frags. I mean, some of them were literally thumb-sized frags. The big facilipore here, I mean, it was just a thumb-sized frag 4 years ago. I don't know what the guy was doing, but he was using a lot of, you know, he was doing the Charbonran-Lugol's, Tropic Pro, biocalcium, what, I think a cup a day. I'm putting about 3 in there. I'm doing about 3 cups biocalcium in there. I know I've said it a bunch of times, test kits. We got to get the test kits. We got to test what we're dosing. I'm going to start dosing. I'm going to start testing iodine. I had to throw it out there because I don't think, are any of us testing iodine really? Anybody? Everybody honest now. You're testing iodine. Are you able to read which test kit, or is it very inconclusive? The multi or the fast test or titration or what? It's titration.
It can be a little tricky. You know, timing just perfect.
Yeah, because of timing and everything.
The level of the spectrum. I mean, it is one of these.
It's such a small variance. It's just like the Salifert phosphate kit. I don't know if anybody have used that one. It's so difficult to read that. You're supposed to look through it and color code it with the corresponding color underneath on the chart. And any kind of blue light coming in throws it off. I do like the phosphate, is it this one? The phosphate kit in this one, the fast test. It's either clear or it's blue. You either have it or you don't. This one's really accurate. You can buy it individually, but I would recommend the whole thing. How often should we test? I think for new systems, still adding corals, still learning your dosing procedures, 3-4 times a week, you know, all your trace elements, your parameters, like, you know, you're going to want to check them regularly in the beginning anyway. If you're still adding rock or corals that are attached to larger rock, you're going to want to still test, because some of that rock may have dead or decaying matter on it, and you know what that's going to cause? Ammonia. We shouldn't have ammonia. Our nitrifying bacteria should be in large enough quantities to process that ammonia out. However, smaller tanks, you add a coral on there with a dead sponge or something tucked up in there, in a 10-gallon tank, you're going to get a little bit of a spike. Even if you have enough biological filtration going on and the nitrobacteria's in there, you know, I think you'll still get them. Ultimately, you shouldn't have nitrate and ammonia or nitrite ever once it's cycled out. All right. We already tested, so I know it's all good, but I'm going to do it anyway just to show you guys what they should be. Now, they're all good. We test everything regular. The tanks are stable. I mean, they've been here now for, but we're going on about 7 months. I think we've had water for about 7 months now. 2, I know everybody knows when you're reaching in your tanks. Lotions, colognes, put your deodorant on, whatever, residue. That stuff sticks around for a while. I mean, it stays on there. You wash your hands, you know, thoroughly, rinse, rinse, rinse. Any little irritants like that are just going to affect your system in a great way. You might not think it does, but any little thing. So some of you guys are having problems, you know, with corals not doing good, or fish maybe getting, you know, slime coat issues, and you're not knowing what it is while I'm getting this ready. Even airborne hairsprays, Carpet Fresh.